Yeah, we gotta rise up. Yo, go for broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't wanna see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Wanna see my demise, you can be in for a surprise. Cause the sun ain't about to set, now it's about to rise. Come hell or high water, we gotta rise up. Despite the storms of life, man, we gotta rise up. All right, I want to welcome everybody to this episode of the Stage is Mine podcast. I'm your host, Terrance Hill, presented to you by Double E TV. This week is my honor and privilege to bring to the program. She is a music composer, she's a music producer, and a freelancer. Her name is Jenna Getty. Jenna, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, for sure. It's an honor and privilege to have you on the program. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am a music producer. I graduated from University of Miami back in May, and I was studying media writing and production. So it was kind of a mix of, music production and scoring for films, TV, all kinds of media within the music realm. So just like a kind of a bunch of different things that I do. But since I've graduated, I came back to Chicago. So I've been in Chicago, and I had a short internship slash job at Chicago recording company while freelancing, and now I'm continuing freelancing, doing, writing jingles and teaching lessons and writing crime music, a bunch of different things, and starting my own business. So it's kind of been a fun way to start my career.
Yeah. What was it like growing up in Chi-Town, Chicago?
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm on the northern suburbs of Chicago, so I say that I'm from Chicago, but I'm a liar. Because like I don't feel like I really got to experience the city until like now. Like now that I'm back here, I'm like really like going to the city and seeing it. But I grew up more on the suburbs, and the suburbs were like I feel like I got a good education growing up here and everything like that. But I do feel like when I was looking at colleges, I one of the things that I really like wanted in a college was like I wanted there to be more like people who came from a lot of different backgrounds and cultures. And I feel like in the suburb that I grew up in, it was there wasn't a lot of diversity in culture. So that's one thing that I would say like I going to school in Miami, I feel like I really it was so refreshing to me because the Latin culture is so present there, and there's
Mhm.
also just like a lot of international students and people coming from all different places. So
Right.
that was really one thing that I liked about going to school.
Yeah. When did you develop a passion for music?
Yeah, so I've like always really been passionate about music. I guess just like when I was a toddler, I had like this one little toy or something. It was like a xylophone, and my parents or my grandma, I think, picked up that like I was just, able to like plunk out the notes and would notice if there was something wrong with it. And so that's when they just sort of, they got me into piano lessons, and from there I've just always loved music, so
Yeah. Do you remember like a particular song, or was it watching television or something? Like what was it exactly that made you like, man, I just love that?
well, I mean, I guess besides the, just natural gravitation towards music and the piano lessons that my parents got me into, like, I I always loved singing. Singing was, like, my favorite thing, and I was involved in the choirs, and then, like, in middle or elementary school, I was in this one choir, um, and the director at the time was he was like composing a composer for the Chicago Symphony. He wrote
Nice.
like a lot of like Christmas music and jingles. So that's kind of he was always like my biggest inspiration. I just thought like everything he did was so cool. Um and I fell in love with like like being able to like when I was in that choir, like we would perform in this Christmas show, and it was just like the coolest thing to me, and I just
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that was just one thing that really
Right.
stood out to me.
Okay. Now, fast forward into today, what you doing your freelancing. Tell us a little bit about your freelancing and what it entails on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, so well, there's a lot of things that are going on in the freelancing. Um, so as you know, I do a lot of work on Fiverr with
Mhm.
which I started a few years ago, doing the jingle thing for a bunch of like small businesses, people on YouTube, um, yeah, just a lot of different kinds of projects, random projects, and then
Yeah.
teaching lessons on Logic Pro.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do background vocals for that, and then I'm working for a few different companies. One is like a music library called Crime Sonics, and they do specialize in crime music. So it's kind of like a music library is like where you like film directors and editors. It's like this big catalog of music where they can just, they go on to Universal Production Music or one of the big ones, and they
Mhm.
just search into the term like, oh, I want action music. It needs to have horns. It needs to be this length or whatever, and then whatever comes up, they can license it,
Right.
and if it gets chosen, then you get whatever you get. But so it's like that's kind of what that is, and so I've been working with another company as well, doing track descriptions
Mm.
for them, and then a separate music production company called Chai Time Studios, which they specialize in world music, so it's kind of like they do a lot of work with like Disney Junior. There's this one show called Mira Royal Detective on Disney Junior that they're doing that. So it's a lot of like Indian music there on that one. And so I'm the social media manager for them. And then I'm also starting my own business. So it's been a lot of I guess if you want the day to day, it's like
Yeah, you're staying busy.
it's like I like every day is very different, I guess. But
Right.
there's usually like maybe one day will be, oh, I'm teaching a lesson, and then I'm, you know, giving two meetings, or then I'm like doing, a crime track. I don't know. Like there's just like it really depends on the day.
Yeah, yeah. What was it like working in the I'm sorry, what was it working like in the Chicago recording studio?
Yeah. So Chicago Recording Company. It was a cool experience. I started out as an intern. Um, and that was my second time interning for a studio. So it was like I was used to the intern like responsibilities and such. It was I'm just gonna be honest with you. It was a lot of getting coffee. It was a lot of
Mhm.
taking out the trash, and it was unpaid. It was not a glamorous internship. And it was a huge time commitment. It was full time. So I realized about a month into the internship that I didn't see myself pursuing being in the studio full time, as like I didn't see myself wanting to just be a studio engineer. Like I think that an internship is really designed for people who are like, oh yeah, I want to be like in the studio 24/7.
Right.
Um, and it's not really a creative internship. It's more of like a technical
Mhm.
internship. Like I'm a total nerd about like mics and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but I'm need to have some kind of creative stuff. And so for me it was just like I realized that I wasn't willing to dedicate the full time into the internship and being an assistant for years
Right.
to get to that point. So, but it was a really cool experience. There were like cool sessions that got to sit in on, and it was it's definitely a reputable company. But
Yeah. What have been just not only your time there, but just in general, what have been some of your most memorable recording sessions?
yeah, so I would definitely say so the internship that I did before that was in Miami at Gloria and Emilio Estefan's studio.
Mm.
And that one that was like it was really like a cool internship for me because like I had never really like been exposed to that kind of like world. And so I just like have and the also the hospitality there was like really like they as soon as you walk in it's like, oh, do you want coffee? Like I felt like I was treated like family. Like the honestly like even the engineer, Emilio's engineer, he actually called me earlier today. Like
Okay, nice.
he still like checks in with me. Like it was just like a very much like very like close knit
Yeah.
community. So it was yeah, I just like have positive reviews from that. And getting to see some of the sessions, like one of like Gloria's session, like she was doing a Brazil album at the time, which
Mm.
actually just got nominated for a Latin Grammy.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's pretty cool. And then the Wailers, the reggae band
Mhm.
from Bob
Oh
Marley.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they were there, which was it was really cool meeting them, and they their album was also nominated for a Grammy last year. So
Nice.
it was really cool to see that. Those were my two coolest things.
Yeah, yeah, it's very cool that you're you know, you grew up doing things with the symphony. I just me and my wife went to see Nas like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. He performed with the Nashville
Oh
Symphony.
yeah,
It was
cool.
amazing. It was amazing. It's probably I think it's my fifth time seeing Nas, but that was definitely my favorite one. And that's saying a lot because his concert he did with Damon Marley, man, that was that's like life changing. But the one with the symphony, it was moving. So it's very
Yeah.
cool that you know you have that engagement, you know, being with the symphony and just seeing all how it all comes together is just like a very cool process to watch. What was it like for you growing up in the Chicago, Illinois area and you transferring to life in Miami? What was that like?
Yeah. I well, first of all, I know that you may have asked this later in the interview, but I will tell you straight up, I love the warm weather.
Yeah, right.
I love hot weather. And so that was an easy transition, like a very easy transition. I feel
Yeah,
like I was just like, I'm in my place, I'm in my environment.
right.
You know, it was like, and just being able to do music every day, it was honestly a very it was not a hard transition, I would say. I
Yeah.
guess I guess like in terms of like well, there was a hurricane when I first got to
Oh
when
wow.
I first got to Miami. It was
Yeah.
Irma. It was like I got there and then 3 weeks into the school year, Irma hit.
Oh wow.
And so it was like, you know, getting to know people and stuff, and then Irma hit. We went back for a month, and then I came back and then I was like, "Oh yeah, what's her name again?" Like
Yeah.
so
Right.
it was like a weird freshman year, but
Right. Now
yeah.
in Chicago, you guys probably had a lot of snowstorms and things of that nature too, right?
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, we would have snow days and stuff,
Yeah.
but I guess now that everything's remote, like, you don't have any excuses to have a snow day.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Tell us about your experience in college. Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, I would feel like I was just exposed to so much music, different kinds of music, and, like, before college, I didn't know what, like I don't know, like, I also was, like, a jazz principal, so I was, like, in the jazz program there, and I didn't know, like, anything about jazz. I was, like, the classic 2-5-1 or whatever, like, I didn't even know any of that, so that was just, like, you know, I just, like, learned so much about the theory of music, history, like, everything about music I learned, and the people I met there were just so valuable. I feel
Yeah.
like that's probably almost the most valuable thing that I got from college.
That's nice. What would you say is like I guess like the biggest thing that you learned in college that's helping you to this day?
Um, that's a big question, huh? Biggest thing I learned in college. I mean, besides the content, I guess if I want to be, I'm gonna get philosophical here,
Sure,
but I
sure.
think that you know, really just following your passion and
Mm,
like following your own voice, because being in music school, I it was overwhelming at times. Like you're surrounded by so many other people who are so talented,
mhm.
and it's so easy to like just like you know get follow the like what they're doing and be like, oh, I want to just like why can't I be like them? They have all the talent and you know their career is so amazing. But what I learned in music is that there really is no, it's not like corporate, it's not like you start out as an associate and you know get to like everybody has their own path, you really everybody has their own path. And so like the quicker you realize that and just like get in the mindset where it's like you know I'm on my own path and maybe I'm not
Mhm.
you know going at the same pace as someone else, or maybe I'm doing different things than somebody else, but that's okay. Like, this is my own path. And so that's kind of what I'm still realizing. But
Yeah, very nice. What is it like to score a film? Like, what is that process like?
it is hard. It's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've done, but it's like, here's the thing about film scoring is that, like, you can write the best piece of music ever, but it could just, like, not work. It could just objectively, like, ruin the film, which is, like, weird to think about because you would think, oh, like, yeah, composing and film scoring, they're the same thing. But no, they're really actually, like, they're different skills. It's a completely different craft
Hmm.
because having to support the story is always first in film scoring. If you're watching, I don't know, like a Disney film or something, and you hear a giant horn in the middle of a, I don't know, like really like sentimental moment, like
Mhm.
blaring in your face. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's just things that are like, well, that just ruined the moment, right? Like,
Yeah.
it sounds good on its own, but so that's just, it's just so tough. And I feel like there's been times where I would spend like hours just on like 5 seconds,
Mm.
just trying to line it up because things in film scoring are like so detailed. Like, you have to line up specific things with specific moments. Like, if somebody slams the door or something, and then all of a sudden the music comes in and it changes, and there's all these different changes going on, and you're like,
Mhm.
how do I make this cohesive and
Right.
like so that people don't notice that the music is changing. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like, you're not, when you're watching a film, you're not even like paying attention really to what the music is doing because it's so.
Right.
But yeah,
Now,
that's all I.
now, when you're doing the scoring, do you kind of come up with the process yourself, and then the director kind of gives his input? Like, what's that process like?
um yeah, so the director is the boss. So usually, like, I mean, if it's an inexperienced director, or if it's somebody that's open to a lot of like the composer suggestions, then sometimes it will be a process of just like the director saying, "Oh yeah, I trust you. Just do whatever you want."
Mhm.
But usually, like, if you were to go like at the very high level, I'm sure directors, they've worked on so many films, they know exactly what they want in the music, and so they'll say, "I want music from 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 7 seconds, and I want it to sound like Jurassic Park or something," and
Mhm.
they'll give you like a reference or they'll give you a vibe, and then they'll probably give you, if you send it back, and they might give you notes. They might be like, oh, this sounds it sounds too tense for the moment, or
Mhm.
things like that.
Right. Do you have a favorite composer that you like? Me personally, Last Samurai is one of my favorite films with Tom Cruise, and Hans Zimmer did
Oh
the
yeah.
composing. It's unbelievable. I still have that soundtrack to this day. Anyone stand out to you?
I've always loved Michael Giacchino.
Okay.
um just like The Incredibles, and just, I love the classic way, the way he scores. I just love it.
Okay.
um and John Williams, of course. I feel like Harry
Yeah.
Potter is like one of my favorite themes.
Okay. Okay. Now, what's the difference? Because I know you score the films, but also you do the jingles. So, what is that process like doing jingles? And do you find jingles less challenging than the scores, or those are more fun? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, the jingles, it really depends on what the project is, but it's a very it's way more like lighthearted and fun than film scoring. And the jingles are such, what I like about it is that they're very short-term projects. Like, for a film score, it's like a really big time and investment. It's like, you're scoring, you're like working on it for days, and
Yeah.
then they come back and they're like, we hate everything, redo everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to die.
Right.
But with Jingles, I sometimes want to die, but I don't want to die all the time.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Because it's like, what do you it's 5 seconds. It's 15 seconds. Like
Yeah.
it's so short that it's like, you know what I mean? But the jingles are fun. Yeah.
Mm.
Usually they're pretty generic, like they want, something catchy, fun. But, it's what makes it more fun is like when I get a project that's like really like quirky and they want something, more like unique.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's obvious you know what you're doing because in 2019 you won a award for was it the Scares and Scores Film Festival? What was that like?
Oh, thank you. Well, that was so long ago. Wow. Um that was so I actually put together that festival. It was like a collaboration between the film fraternity and the Society of Composers.
Hmm.
And so my professor Carlos Rafael Rivera, he was the composer for the Queen's Gambit. Um and he judged the competition or the awards.
Hmm.
And so I had actually scored two of the films in that film festival because somebody dropped out last minute and I was putting together the festival, so it was like, all right, I guess I'm doing this because nobody else is doing this. um, and it was kind of funny because I submitted all the scores to Carlos and anonymously, and he judged them. And so then he was like talking to me on the phone about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, this one was like so great," blah, blah, blah. But then he was also like, this one was like, I had such a problem with this one. Everything was getting in the way, and it was just so like it was a bad. And
Mm.
so, and so then I was like, well, those two were both mine.
Right.
So the one that won was mine, but the one that was also the one that he had a problem with was also mine. So it goes to show you that
Right.
you could do great work, and then it's really just either a matter of taste and a
Right.
matter of
Yeah.
project.
Sure. Yeah, it's like a ball player or whatever, Tom Brady, he may go out there and have a game, he throws 5 touchdowns, and then may have another game, he throws 3 picks or whatever. But the important thing is you just keep getting better each day. And so that's great to see, your growth and your process and just trusting your judgment. And so I know the more that you continue to do your scores, you're going to continue to elevate and be nominated for more and more things and take on bigger projects for sure. Any projects that you're currently working on that you can talk about?
Well, so right now I'm working on starting my own business. So I've been very, very busy with that. It's basically uh, jingles, but I'm taking the jingle thing in a different direction. I want to do something that's like very innovative and different. So I want to do my idea is jingles for education. So like using like these short little less than 15 seconds in elementary school or middle schools for teachers to use, like put in a presentation just to make content more engaging, like TikTok, how it's short, it's catchy,
Hmm.
it, you remember things really, really well. And then, yeah, just, what was the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, that I've been trying to develop. And so just like being on calls with teachers and developing the jingles for that
Nice.
um, has been trying
Yeah.
to similar. It's similar, like the concept is similar to like Schoolhouse Rock or Hamilton. Those are like my inspirations for that. But like everything is short is the idea.
Right.
Is like it's quick and fun.
Okay.
So
Okay. And what is it like being working the last year doing the COVID-19 and um and what's that whole process been like? Also, how are things going now in the area that you're located in?
yeah. So I feel like the COVID thing actually, in a way, was good for because my senior year I was really trying to prepare for graduating and start networking and stuff and try
Mm.
and build new connections, connect with alums. And because Zoom was so it's still so present, but
Mhm.
it's it felt like it was so easy to just like hop on Zoom calls with people, even like though I'm not in LA or anything like that. And so I'm actually going to LA next week, and
Okay.
some of the people that I was, connecting with during the pandemic, I'm able to now meet in person. So I think that, and then as far as like working producing music, thankfully it's being a producer, like I'm able to work remotely. Everything that most of the work that I'm doing now is remote. So that's been nice. I feel bad. I felt bad for a lot of the music or the like jazz voice principals who were like also in my year,
Yeah.
because they have like, it's hard, you can't really like sing in a group over Zoom. So that
Mm,
was tough at first, but
right.
thankfully Miami kind of we went back in the fall, so
Mhm.
it was doable with restrictions and stuff.
Okay. All right. And as we, obviously we're about to enter into October of 2021. Besides your business, any goals or things you want to see come to manifestation for 2022?
The business is like a really big goal of mine, but I'm just hoping like I'm going to LA next week,
Hmm.
and I'm going to the Production Music Association conference.
Okay.
And so I'm just hoping to really take things to the next level with the music libraries and production music industry.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's like my main goals.
Yeah.
We'll see
Nice.
about being in Chicago. I really don't know. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot open still, but
Sure. Okay, nice. Um, well, we'll get to this part of the show. We do every program. I just throw a couple rapid fire questions at you, and you answer to the best of your capability, and you answer, and the first thing that pops in your head. Your
okay.
your favorite food,
Sushi.
sushi. Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, you're in Chicago, so that's why I threw this question in here. Deep dish pizza, New York style, thin or hand tossed?
I actually like New York better than deep dish.
Okay, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When you're not doing music, what do you do for fun?
um that's I recently I've been, going out to Chicago a lot and just kind of exploring with people, and um I don't know. I like games, board
Okay.
games.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to Chicago maybe 3 times. Do you have a favorite actor?
I'm not like huge in actors and actresses, but I do like Jason Bateman from Ozark. I love that show.
Okay. Okay. Your favorite recording artist?
So this is really tough, but I would say I really like Jacob Collier. He's like, so he does such like cool things.
Nice, nice. Your favorite genre?
I also can't pick this one.
Can't pick this one. Yeah,
I think just well produced and well composed music.
right. Now you already answered this one, but I'll throw it out there again. Hot or cold?
Hot, definitely.
Okay.
I'm like already in my snuggie. Not right now, but like after this, I probably will be.
What's the temperature up there right now?
It's not too bad right now. I think it's like in the high 60s, low
Okay.
70s. So it's
Okay. Musical influences.
um that's a good question. Yeah, film scores and Broadway music. I definitely think that's come in. Um, the Latin music from Miami, Cuban rhythms, that is definitely in a lot of what I do. Um, I grew up on country music. I studied jazz.
Mm.
So there's just like a lot of like random things going on, I guess, into my influences.
Yeah. And I know you're so young, but I'm gonna ask this question anyway. Do you ever think about legacy and what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, I guess I really just I want to inspire people the same way that I was inspired by, like my choir director. I want to be a mentor to people who are trying to get into this industry,
Yeah.
but I also really feel like I want to kind of create my own path and do something that's like outside of the box, kind of like innovative and something of my own. Like that's why I'm like trying to start this business. I just really like the idea of like using music in a different industry or in a different using it in an innovative way, I guess.
Yeah. And I just want to ask just one more question. How many hours a week would you say you work on music?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's yeah.
I would assume a lot.
It is a lot, but it's like at the same time, it's like it changes based on what phase I'm in, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to LA next week. I'm not going to work on music at all during that week. I'm going to be networking and seeing people and seeing LA. But then like the week after that, I might just be like grinding out music. So like
Right.
however many hours there are
Yeah.
when I'm awake, right?
Okay.
But
And then when you were, for some people, when they're stressed, they go to music. But obviously you are, you're a music maker and composer. So when you're stressed or whatever, do you go to film or do you go to a ball game? Like what's your go-to
yeah,
when you don't want to work on music?
I'm so glad you asked that because everybody everybody like the first question when I say that I do music, they're like, "Oh yeah, what music do you listen to?" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I mean, I just want to watch TV
Yeah.
or like do something else, right? Because I'm
Right.
like working on music all the time. Not that I don't like listening to music,
Sure.
but yeah, I do feel that I really like enjoy like getting into TV shows or doing something with family or
Right.
doing life things.
Yeah. Well, Jenna, I definitely appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It was a privilege to talk to you. Anyone that's interested in your products or services, how can they reach you?
Yeah, so you could send me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is Jenna Getty Music. Or you can go to my website. There's a little contact thing at www.jennagetty.com.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, and definitely look forward to having you back. And you know me, I'm definitely going to be collaborating with you on some projects as well.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right, I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this week's episode of The Stage is Mine. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much. I want to thank everybody for their support, those of you that have been watching all of our podcasts. If you're interested in donating to the Stage is Mine podcast, you can send that two ways via PayPal or Cash App. Our Cash App is Terry from the A, and our PayPal is EETV101. Support this machine today to help us continue to do what we're doing. Also, if you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the Stage is Mine podcast, email me today at EETV@yahoo.com or call 334-498-5394. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for tuning in to today's program. Be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell for all things pertaining to the Stage is Mine podcast. Until next time, take care.
Broke, give everything, better yet, give your all. They don't wanna see you win, nevertheless, show evolve. Wanna see my demise, you can be in for a surprise, cause the sun ain't about to set.